step out because we're going to fill this whole slide.
Oh, sorry. No, the inmates were all excited. They use him right there. So this is going to
And the defendant is present and at liberty.
and thank you.
And this is on for sentencing. Mr. Dennis, do you know of any legal cause or reason why judgment should not be pronounced against you at this time?
No, Your Honor.
By virtue of your plea entered in this matter, I hereby adjudicate you guilty of voluntary manslaughter. Does the state want to say anything other than, I know it's a stipulated sentence?
No, other than, I've had a discussion with Mr. Schoenfeld about the request for restitution. Is my belief that that restitution is owed to the daughters, and that thus the daughters' request not to receive restitution, I believe, means the court should not be ordering the restitution as it relates to that. There may be in that total number, and I'll wait for the speakers to tell you, costs associated with the funeral or something like that. If Mr. Schoenfeld wants that proved up, we can have a subsequent hearing on those costs. But the majority of the money is associated with the life insurance policy to which the daughters are the beneficiary.
Okay. Mr. Dennis, do you want to say anything?
My attorney will speak.
I'll speak on his
Question
behalf.
enough to know. Okay, Mr. Schoenfeld?
Thank you. Your Honor, as the court's aware, Mr. Dennis has pled guilty pursuant to the decision of the United States Supreme Court in Alford versus North Carolina. As a result of that, this plea was entered without making any admissions and for the desire to avoid the possibility of a greater potential consequence should this case have gone to trial. This resolution was reached as part of the settlement conference pursuant to Rule 252 of the Nevada Supreme Court, and the Winters did participate in that settlement conference. The parties have stipulated to a sentence of 36 to 120 months in the Nevada Department of Corrections, and today we ask Your Honor to accept that resolution. In light of the guilty plea being entered pursuant to Alford versus North Carolina, Mr. Dennis has elected not to speak today. However, he did submit a written statement to the probation office that states as follows. My wife passed away in early 2015, and this has been a very difficult time for my immediate family, which consists of my 2 young daughters. Through this time, we have remained a close family and supportive of each other. My 2 daughters still reside with me, and my goal was to protect them from the ongoing emotions attached to the judicial process. This resolution provides closure, as one of my goals was to prevent my daughters and others affected from having to undergo the stresses of a trial. Although during the last several years I have been at odds with Susan's loved ones, I want to express that I understand their sorrow. And both daughters are here today, Your Honor. That's Allie and Danny Dennis. They have asked me to read a statement that they have written, which I will also file with the court. To the Honorable Judge Leavitt, we understand that our father has pled guilty pursuant to the Alford decision without making any admissions of guilt and to avoid the risk of a harsher consequence at a trial. We decided as a family to take this path for the sole reason that it is time for us, as a family, to put this behind us, and not because we believe for a second that he had any involvement in our mother's death. On January 3rd, 2015, our mother tragically passed away as the result of lifelong mental health issues. Since that day, our family has been targeted and persecuted by the Winters family. For the past 7 years, we have been portrayed as brainwashed little girls who will do anything to defend their father. We were 12 and 15 when our mother passed, but we knew the many wonderful qualities she possessed as well as her flaws. Now we are 20 and 22 years old, and we more fully understand the issues our mother faced. Unfortunately, many women, including us, have similar issues that are difficult to accept. The signs of suicide are not always black and white, and our mother is a great example of someone who seemingly had a perfect life with little to no reason to commit suicide. Losing our mother was the hardest day of our lives, but the accusations against our father have brought trauma that cannot be overstated. The time, money, and resources that our grandparents, Dan and Avis Winters, have used to pursue our father could and should have been used to spread awareness to mental health struggles and suicide prevention. The past 7 years have only confirmed our love and support for our dad. Despite the hardships, our bond is stronger than ever, and we find great comfort in one another, just as Mom would have wanted. We understand that the agreement reached between the state of Nevada and our father permits the court to either accept or reject the resolution. While we know that our father has no culpability related to our mother's death, we would like the court to follow the plea agreement so that we can put this behind us and our father can return to us as soon as possible. Signed, Allie Arlene Dennis and Anna Danielle Dennis. If I may submit this for filing with the court, Your Honor. Thank you.
Absolutely,
May I approach?
absolutely.
The
It's
court.
gonna be website filed, okay.
Okay. Actually, is there a way that that could be
If you want it filed as part of the case, I'll have it
Yeah,
filed.
filed as part of the
Part of
case,
the
and
case.
thank you. And Your Honor, with that, I respectfully request that the court follow the resolution that has been reached in this case.
You may call your first witness.
Avis Winters?
Ms. Winters, you can either sit here at the table or stand at the podium wherever you feel more comfortable.
Is there a microphone there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
And once you're there, if you'll please raise your right hand and face the clerk.
You do solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Can you please state and spell your first and last name for the record?
Avis, A-V-I-S, Winters, W-I-N-T-E-R-S. Greetings. My name is Avis Winters. I am here to address the state of Nevada as allowed by law in the matter of case number C17326977-1, State of Nevada, v. Gregory Brent Dennis. Susan Winters is my daughter and is the victim in this case. Her life was taken from her by acts of her husband, Gregory Brent Dennis. I take the state-given opportunity to endeavor to describe Susan as only her mother can do. Many obscure memories about her have surfaced as I've considered the time allowance granted for this sentencing hearing today. A few minutes will never suffice to portray any person to another person or any given audience. It must be understood that I speak as her mother and not as another person remembers Susan. May I show this picture of Susan?
Sure,
This
of course.
was a snapshot of Susan taken the 25th day of April, 2015. Thank you. Susan has been gone from the presence of her daughters, her parents, her brother's family, her aunts, her uncles, and cousins for a total of 2,946 days. Susan's absence will continue on after this day, designated for the plea bargain sentencing hearing. Susan's family and friends love her and miss her daily. We miss the phone calls from her sharing news and inquiring about our lives. We will forever ache to hear her upbeat, sometimes irreverent comments. Susan's absence has created a void that cannot be assuaged in this earthly life. My heart is so broken when I think about all the milestone events in her daughters' lives that Susan has missed and will continue to miss. She's missed their getting their driver's license, high school proms, high school graduation, starting college. She has and will continue to miss every ordinary happening that occurs daily in their lives. She has missed those momentous events that create wonderful memories. Susan was her own person from the very early age. She was a baby, in fact, when she would cry to be put into her crib so she would have her time to rest and sleep. She wanted to wear blue jeans, T-shirts, mostly vacation memento T-shirts, and dingo boots. She was delighted when a young boy playmate said to her, this was the early 70s, "Mother, there really is a boy named Sue." The mother reported this to me. Susan had 2 Starsky Hutch T-shirts that are now part of 2 small quilts made of souvenir T-shirts, 26. This is Susan as a fourth grader in Edmond, Oklahoma. Susan. Short hair, Starsky Hutch t-shirt. She always wore those. She was the youngest cousin in a group of 7, 3 boys and 4 girls. I vividly remember times Danny and I would be visiting our parents in Blair, Oklahoma. Different time. That was the early 70s. Those 7 cousins would walk 5 miles to my parents' farm in the country. They loved being there. They had room to rove, to play their imaginary games. They loved being there, and my parents loved them being there. Susan didn't ask for anyone to wait on her. She was the youngest, but she kept up right along with them, walking 5 miles. She was a competitor in sports and in life. She set goals and pursued them. She wanted to play softball as a first grader, but at that time there were no teams for girls before 2nd grade. She didn't let that stop her. When Danny would take Chris out to practice baseball skills, she would get her cap and her glove and go right out with them. She learned to field ground balls. I'm sure you all know what that is. To catch fly balls and wonder if it's going to hit you in the mouth. To hit the ball, to run the bases, and she loved to slide into home plate. She did that well. She learned those skills and displayed them during games. She played catcher in grade school, and she played that position so very well that one father remarked to Danny after Susan played in a piano recital, "I'm glad to see Susan in a dress. She must be a girl, but I thought as I watched her play that a sex test ought to be done on her. I didn't think a girl could play that position so well like a boy." Susan was moved to shortstop in junior high and high school. During the end of season tournament play in her senior year in high school, in one particular game, when the win was needed to move up to the next level of tournament play, the ball was hit to the outfield, thrown to Susan. Susan caught it, relayed it to home, and the runner was tagged out. The second time the same play was developing during this same game, the outfielder fielded the ball, threw it to Susan. The runner was held up at third, because the coach said, "That player has too good an arm. I didn't dare risk that my player being put out." But Susan's team went on to win the state tournament that year. Susan ran track in junior high school and high school. She was a champion and established a state record in the quarter-mile run in junior high. Remarkably, after Susan's death, we received a letter dated January 14, 2015 from Kit Braun Vickery, a fellow track competitor in high school. We didn't know Kit. She and Susan were competing in the 1983 state track meet, 3,200-meter run. Kit said, "I remember our coach telling us to watch out for Susan and not let her get ahead of us during the race." She continued running for the remainder of her life. She ran several marathons here in Las Vegas, one in Park City, Utah, one in St. George, Utah. In 1992, she won her age division of the Andy Payne Marathon in Oklahoma City. She earned a starting position as guard when she was only a sophomore on the high school basketball team and maintained that position throughout her senior year. She was small in stature, and it was reported that the little Barbie girl was out there playing. Susan competed with Chris, her brother, in making the earliest happy birthday morning call. And then they would want to know if they were the first to make that call. Susan and Chris had a close relationship. They supported each other and joked when they talked. They routinely greeted each other with, "Hello, uglier than I am." I'd started a Valentine tradition early, making Valentine cookies and sending them to both Chris and Susan and their families. Invariably, one of them would call me and say, if it was Susan calling, she would say, "Chris is dieting and really doesn't want any cookies, so just send his share to me and I will help him out on his diet." But they always got their fair share. Susan entered the University of Oklahoma in the fall of 1984 and graduated in 3 years with a BA. She took all intercession courses available and attended OU's extension in Colima, Mexico to learn Spanish and earn those extra hours to graduate. In the 3 years she had allotted herself another goal. She told me that she started dreaming in Spanish, and she took that as a good indicator of her proficiency in the language. She also said that when she spoke Spanish, her Oklahoma accent caused laughter. She graduated University of Oklahoma School of Law in 1990, 5 years after graduating law school, and early on in her practice of law here in Vegas, Susan found a case that she felt wasn't settled quite fairly. Her supervisor's advice was sought, and the supervisor said, well, you do the work that's necessary to file an appeal, which Susan did, and the Supreme Court of Nevada allowed her to argue the case. The case was affirmed in part, vacated in part, and remanded. Filing date of November 1st, 1995. She endeavored to correct or help in situations she felt were unfair or not right. Just like she did in junior high when the pep club sponsor said to the girls, okay, we're going to have a uniform of white, sleeved, collared, button down the front shirts. Susan said, each one of us girls has some kind of white shirt. Why does it have to be like you're saying? Why can't we just wear the blue jeans and a white shirt, t-shirt, woven, knit, whatever? Susan prevailed. She served as judge pro tem in Las Vegas when her father and I went into that awesome courtroom to watch her on the bench. Danny was checking out the courtroom, not paying attention to the bailiff's announcement of all rise, and he was still looking around. Susan, sitting up there in the robe, said, that means you too, Daddy. There was laughter. When Allie was born, Susan decided that she wanted to be a full-time mother and paused practicing law. She pre-enrolled her daughter in the Mary Hill school system, and when Danny arrived, she was also pre-enrolled in the Mary Hill school system. They attended that system through grade school and then entered public school at Coronado. Susan was a typical homeroom mother, taking the girls to school every morning and picking them up at the close of the day. She became acquainted with parents of her daughter's friends, school employees, teachers, anybody there. She wanted to know what was going on in her daughter's lives with whomever they might interact. She encouraged her daughters to play sports and was present at all practices and games. The girls' birthdays were celebrated with visiting family members, their friends, and their parents' friends. Bouncy houses were enjoyed, as well as swimming, and the party finale was the singing of the happy birthday song with the eating of birthday cake. Those backyard parties will be remembered by anyone who attended. Susan was planning to take her daughter, Allie, on college tours to help her decide which college to attend. Susan planned to go to the University of Oklahoma at Norman, Tulsa University, and University of Nevada at Reno. It was Susan's hope that her daughters would attend one of the colleges, universities attended by their parents. Danny, Susan's younger daughter, was on the Cali cheer team, and they did quite well. The team had participated in the 2014 Nationals held in Orlando, Florida. Danny and I attended that meet. The team had qualified to compete in the 2015 Nationals to be held in Hawaii. Susan and I were making plans to secure airline tickets and lodging reservations. We were excited about that trip, as we would extend the time for a vacation there, either before the competition or after. Unfortunately, this was one of the last topics she and I discussed. We spent lots of time together for birthdays, holidays, business meetings, family vacations held at family-friendly locations. During the year of 2014, we were together 14 times for a total of 6 weeks. 2 of those weeks were spent in Ireland and Scotland. Susan thoroughly enjoyed that trip because she had read much British history and was able to visit sites she had read about: Stirling Castle, home of the King and Queen of Scotland, William Wallace Monument, and St. Andrews with the Victory Bridge. Losing my daughter has created a void in my heart that will never be filled. I miss her every single day. I miss her phone calls, holiday meals, shopping trips, vacations, and simple conversations about motherhood and life in general. I miss hearing about her goals and dreams for the future, and ache knowing that these goals and dreams will never come to fruition, while her father, brother, sister-in-law, and other family members and friends are thankful for the years Susan was with us. We realize the vacuum created by the loss of Susan is permanent. As if losing Susan wasn't enough, we have also lost the relationship we had with her daughters because we never believed this case was anything other than a murder case. The sadness is overwhelming at times, but we know that God is in control and He will provide justice for Susan eventually. And this is a good representation. This is a copper sculpture by Alexander Gregory. You can see the empty chest area, and when I saw that, I was struck by how we all feel that Susan has been taken from us and she'll never be back, but God will provide. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. You may call your next witness.
Helen Biddy.
Raise your right hand. You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Can you please state and spell your first and last name for the record?
Helen, Helen, Biddy, Biddy.
Thank you.
Okay, my name is Helen Biddy, and I'm Avis Winter's sister and Susan's aunt. And January the 3rd, 2015 is a date I will never forget. It was the day I received a call from my sister to inform me that her daughter, my niece Susan, was dead. I was given the task of informing our large extended family. Everyone was in shock. Susan had a vibrant, energetic, and full of life personality and always seemed to have a smile on her face. We all struggled with the news that we would never see her again. As a child, Susan spent many a night in my home with my daughters. In fact, she sometimes felt like she belonged to me too. Her parents always made sure that she had a connection with our large extended family, whether it be a week here or there, or on holidays. I guess 4th of July is one of the holidays that we will never stop thinking about Susan. She always tried to make sure that she got her daughters there to know the family that she grew up around and to make memories as she had growing up. Susan adored her children and her parents. She named them Avis and Danny after the parents she loved so dearly. Not only have we lost Susan, we have lost her girls also. To see her parents, her brother and sister-in-law, along with their daughter, have to struggle with this day after day has been almost too much to bear. We have waited and watched for 7 years for questions to be answered. It has been hard on all of us, waiting year after year for some kind of justice for Susan, a beautiful life that was taken too soon. Susan has missed out on so many of the things that to see her children do. She didn't get to see them graduate. She won't get to see them go to college, or all the events that she would have enjoyed so much. You cannot imagine the grief we see daily on her immediate family. It is very hard to watch as they try to regain their life. Nothing will erase the memory of what happened to Susan, but hopefully, after today, we can begin the healing process.
The Honorable Natalie Terrell is on Blue Jeans, and so she's next. Judge, if we could put her on.
Okay. Are you gonna wanna be heard on,
No, thank you, Your Honor. No objection.
okay, all right. Judge Terrell, are you present?
I am.
If you'll raise your right hand so you can be sworn by the clerk.
You do solemnly
I
swear.
am trying to get the video unmuted.
We just need to hear you, so if you wanna raise your right hand,
It is raised.
thank you.
You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Your Honor, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Judge
And
Terrell?
as you know, yes,
Did you say yes?
yes,
Okay, go ahead.
all right. I'm gonna do my best. Unfortunately, I have COVID voice right now. And so, that's why I sound raspy. But good morning, Your Honor. My name is Natalie Terrell, and Susan Winters was my best friend. Susan was so full of life. She was beautiful and intelligent, loving and caring, and so much fun to be around. And she had a big personality that made everyone feel at ease around her. I cannot overstate what an important person Susan was in my life. Susan was a true friend, a confidant. She showed up when it mattered. She was supportive. She applauded my success, and she made me laugh. Her death has been devastating to me beyond words. And I also have been witness to the suffering of her family. Not a day goes by that I don't think about Susan, wanting to pick up the phone or text her, to chat or get her advice. To this day, I cannot bring myself to physically delete her from my telephone. Susan and I both moved here to Las Vegas in 1990. Her from Oklahoma and I from Minnesota, and we both started working at the DA Appellate Division. We became fast friends. We both had a mutual appreciation for Elvis and his music. Our personalities really gelled. Susan and I both sat for the Nevada bar together in July 1991. We stood side by side with hands raised as we were sworn in as attorneys in October 1991. We supported each other during the good times, including the birth of our children, as well as bad times, including difficulties in each of our marriages. Your Honor, this case is not just a tragedy. This case is the ruination of a family. The consequences of Susan's death are far-reaching. Susan was devoted to her daughters, Allie and Danny. She served as PTA president far longer than anyone else and was a constant figure at all of their activities. None of us were given the opportunity to say goodbye to Susan, neither her parents or myself. It is difficult to have closure in a case where a loved one is killed. Justice requires the maximum sentence here because Susan had so much life left to live. She had many plans for the future and talked about them often. Prospective college visits for her daughters, upcoming projects in Oklahoma, doing something for her 50th birthday, which at the time was upcoming in 2016. Judge, the world was a better place with Susan in it. I'm asking you to consider my words in pain in making your decision today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Will you please spell your first and last name for the record, please?
Natalie, Natalie, and Terrell, Tyrrell.
Okay, thank you very much, Judge Terrell, for your testimony, and you may call your next witness.
Chris Winter. Court's indulgence.
Sure.
Okay, I think that's it.
Okay. All right, in accordance with the laws of the state of Nevada, this court does now sentence you as follows. In addition to the administrative assessment, the DNA fee, and the collection fee, you'll be required to submit to genetic marker testing. This time, the court's going to follow the stipulation and sentence you to 36 to 120 months in the Nevada Department of Corrections. He has 5 days credit. Is that correct, Mr. Schoenfeld?
Yes, Your Honor.
5 days credit for time served. He's remanded to begin serving his time.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Mr. DeJoco, if you see Kozel out there, can you send him in, please?
I will.
Thank you.
Right this way.
Okay, we are in court still. Okay, can you tell us something, or I'm just gonna get the
Oh, we can do that Friday. Mr. Savage. Do you want me to check?
Let me know.
Okay. You have time, she's gonna use the bathroom too. I'm not snoozing so long. Okay, we know, yeah, of course.
You guys finish this now, I got trial. It's going longer than I thought it would. I've seen the same.